Welcome back. Time is 3:36 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a damning new report by Pickthall House into Prevent, of course that's the government's anti-terror strategy, has concluded it is systematically failing in its goals. Now, Southport child murderer, the triple killer, Axel Rudikabana, of course, was referred to the scheme on 3 separate occasions, and yet they still failed to pick up this murderous psychopath. So here's the question. Should Prevent be ditched and its failed officers face prosecution? Well, I'm now joined in the studio by the head of domestic policy at Pickthall House, and that is Jacob Williams. Jacob, always a pleasure to have your company in the studio. Got to admit, I've been absolutely damning in my thoughts towards Prevent. 3 times they missed the killer. 3 children could be alive if they'd done their job. Obsessed with the far right, too afraid to call out black people when they're threatening to attack white people. That's what happened here. I think Prevent should go in the dustbin of history, and I think the people who missed Rudikabana should be arrested for their failings in that. You, however, have done a more sober report. What are your findings?
Prevent has failed in everything it's supposed to do. It's failed in its basic duty to prevent terrorism. Cases like the one we're discussing, the Southport killer, are just the tip of the iceberg. Prevent is not only failing to focus on the people who are most at risk of violence, it's also harassing innocent civilians of all backgrounds and threatening their freedom of speech with a frankly Orwellian system of thought policing.
Yeah, and so they're basically monitoring what people tweet or say on Facebook, raising flags that they're racist. Even at schools, they're doing this, and then they're turning a blind eye to actual real-world threats. And isn't that one of the key findings of your report? Stop worrying about policing thought and actually go for the genuine real-world bad guys.
Absolutely, and I want to say to the whole country that this affects everyone. It isn't just those accused of racism, it's those accused of being Islamic extremists, it's everyone who's being falsely accused. It's 4-year-old boys being reported for talking about Fortnite, 10-year-olds being reported for writing stories about Palestine. Jacob Rees-Mogg, it's a monumental absurdity. It affects all British citizens, it's threatening our rights, and it's not keeping us safe because there's no evidence that holding objectionable views is directly linked to becoming a terrorist. It's more often insane, damaged individuals, and that's what we need to be focusing on. Prevent needs to be refocused on capturing people who are actually likely to commit crime and not policing our thoughts.
OK, Jacob, it's an excellent report. I've been through it. Can you outline for our viewers some of your recommendations? What's the way forward to save this very tarnished institution?
There are 2 types of people that Prevent needs to focus on. Number 1 are people where we have direct evidence that they're actually plotting violence. These are the people who deserve to be harassed by the state. These are the people who ought to be being monitored and surveilled. And number 2 is people who've already broken the law but not yet committed violence. They've committed non-violent crimes. These people have been convicted by due process of law. They've already forfeited their rights because they are criminals, and it's right that we investigate them more closely. By doing this, we'll not only protect innocent people from getting caught up, we'll actually do a far better job of what Prevent is supposed to do, which is prevent real violence.
Is the problem, though, that within Prevent, it's been captured by a woke mindset? We had a former Prevent officer on the show yesterday, very, very insightful, saying ostensibly they are looking for far right. It polishes their halo to find far right extremism. That's why they're sniffling around in people's tweets and Facebook posts. But when they're seeing actual violence, that doesn't quite fit the pattern, they're turning a blind eye. It could be problematic, could be racist, could be Islamophobic. So it's not just the framework, it's the personnel. We've got the wrong kinds of mindset. We need to be, actually hammering down on people, not just like we saw with the rape gangs, not being afraid to make comments because the wrong kind of demographic we're going after.
Yeah, I think that it's when you have an institution that is obsessed with ideology, which is what Prevent is, because we found that people are 6 times more likely to actually be referred if their ideology is unclear versus going on to the next stage. So most of these are just false reports. Well, when you have an institution like that, it's just so easy for it to get captured by any ideological or political agenda, and so everyone is falling victim to this.
Are you confident? We've been promised by the Prime Minister a full systemic inquiry into Southport, including looking at Prevent. No stone will remain unturned, we keep hearing. But how? How can it be the case that somebody like Rudikabana was simply missed 3 times? Doesn't that say it's not a case of, I don't know, tweaking things or fettling things? The entire system seems completely and utterly inept.
I agree with you entirely, and it's far beyond Ruda Cabana. It is 5 killers, actual killers, were referred to Prevent over the last few years. None of them were stopped. It is failing entirely, and it needs to be stripped back to doing the basic role it's supposed to do and get rid of this absurd ideological policing.
I saw the former head of Prevent on a rival news channel. It won't come on GB News. Please come on. Come on here and Face Music. I'd like to ask you, why do you keep blaming social media? Why do you keep blaming Elon Musk? Why do you keep blaming Amazon for delivering knives? This isn't where we should be looking. That is a symptom. The cause is a mindset, a poison. And the ideology that drives that poison, let's be honest, 80% of their own referrals are Islamic terrorism. That's where the real problem is. And Ruda Cabana may or may not fit into that. They're saying he might have had some far left tendencies because he said, going after white racists. He made out he was called racist at school. That's why he took a knife into school. You can't blame it on racism when you start taking knives. 10 times he carried a knife. 3 times he was caught by Prevent. He never got picked up. Is that an organisation which you think should carry on? Can it be saved?
Prevent, in its current form, it's hated by just about everyone. There are those who think that it's targeting the far right too much. There are those who think quite the opposite of what you said. It's about an equal number of far right versus Islamist referrals who are going through Prevent. So this is an institution that's just targeting any community that can be subjectively painted as extreme, and it's very, very dangerous what they're doing, and it's not keeping us safe. It does need to be reformed root and branch. OK, superb. It's a great report. Thank you very much. It's called The Prevent Programme is Systematically Failing in Its Goals. And, of course, that is by the Pickthall House. And that is Jacob Williams, the Head of Domestic Policy. Thanks for coming into the studio today. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.